Hi, everyone. This is Ariela Halevi, and welcome to Soul Stories, where we explore sacred thresholds of human life, the moments that break us open, the moments that pull us back together, and those moments where we find our soul. Every one of us walks through experiences in life that sometimes shake the ground below us. They crack us open. They change us. We end up leaving structure, leaving systems, identities that once held us together. And these are earthly stories. But today and always on our podcast, I want to talk about soul stories. And my guest today, Leah Young. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Not only is she my dear friend, but we're going to dive into her threshold story. Leah left the Mormon faith, a journey that is both deeply human and profoundly spiritual. Today, we're going to explore what that passage was like for her and what she lost, but also what she found along the way. And so just a little bit about Leah. Leah's life path has been one of questioning, deconstructing, rebuilding, and learning to honor and embrace the beauty and the complexity of the human experience. Her husband of 24 years and 4 gorgeous children, because I know them, continually inspire her growth and guide her purpose. She credits them as her greatest teachers. As a certified life coach and psychedelic facilitator, Leah weaves together lived experience and formal training. Through a trauma-informed, heart-centered approach, she integrates science, spirituality, and embodiment to guide her clients through deeply transformative experiences. Leah's mission is to cultivate safe space where truth is remembered, love is embodied, and new versions of ourselves are born. So, Leah, I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you.
And I feel like we're going to start with a prayer in a moment, but I feel like our conversations in general are similar to a podcast. So, what we're going to do today is just have one of our gorgeous conversations that we have and dive deeply into your story, not only your earthly story of your threshold, but also your soul story.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I like to start with a prayer just to center us. So let's take a few centering breaths. And if you're watching this, I'm going to invite you also to take some regulating breaths. And as we breathe in, we're just going to deepen into ourselves, into the ground, into the Mother Earth, feeling our feet on the ground, allowing us to be grounded and centered during this podcast. And then as we become more centered and grounded, we invite the presence of Spirit, God's source of all here. We are so grateful that as we ground, we open our center, our heart, and our crown, our head, our highest vision of what not only this podcast, but what our world can be. We invite you here, dear Spirit, Source, to dwell in these next minutes that we are together and to open our hearts and our mouths so we may speak your truth. All right. So let's dive in. I always like to do a prayer because I feel like it centers us. Pre-podcast, we're getting things together, and now we're here.
Yeah, I love
centered.
that. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So I would love to start and have you tell me and our listeners a little bit about what you consider your threshold. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that. I would love to hear your story about leaving the Mormon faith. And then we'll make it a conversation, but it's such a deep, integral part of your being and your life. And yet you found a way to discover, it sounds like, a deeper part of yourself, even below or above the Mormon faith. And so I would love to dive into that and hear how you did it, what your story is, and where you're going now. So let's start with the first part. What was it like for you when you and your husband decided to leave the Mormon faith? And I guess what was the catalyst?
Yeah, good question. So I'll start by saying we were both born and raised in Mormonism. We didn't know anything different. It was the foundation of our lives. It answered all of the existential questions that people have. We thought we had all the answers, and we were married with the vision and the intention of being Mormon forever, because it was the only one true way. So I found myself when we had 4 daughters. Our oldest was about 15. Our youngest was around 6, I believe. Observing a friend, sharing online, a lot of emotions about what she had learned about the Mormon church. She was Mormon as well. And she was very vulnerable and melting down. And I asked her to help me understand how she was saying what she was. It was confusing to me. And so I was curious about her experience, and she started sharing information with me. And I started to read about my religion for the very first time from an outsider's perspective. The truth claims, the history. I started studying about every major claim of Mormonism. And very quickly, the foundation of my life, of my existence, of my reality started to crumble. And initially, my husband and I were not on the same page. And that was a real growth experience for me, because I, for the first time in my life, felt lonelier than I'd ever felt before. It was very lonely. It was very scary. And nothing made sense, because why we're here and where we're going, all of that had crumbled for me. And simultaneously, I was a threat to my husband based on what I'd learned. And he was very scared and very upset, right? Anger is a secondary emotion. So really under that was a lot of fear. And I remember sitting in a church parking lot. It wasn't a Mormon church, but it's after I had learned enough to realize that everything that I believed in had been made up, essentially. And I remember thinking, there's one thing right now that I know, and that is like honesty. Honesty is important. Like, I don't know a lot about anything else. I am so confused. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what the purpose of life is. But I know it's important to be honest. And I was just like weeping, just like I might lose my marriage. My children could potentially be turned against me. I'll lose the love or the relationships of almost everyone in my life. But I cannot be dishonest with what I've learned. And I won't. I won't be dishonest. And that was a pivotal moment in my life, because I decided on one value in that moment. Like, this is a value. I know it's real. I know it's true. And I'm going to begin building a new life based on at least this value. And that is that I want to be honest.
So strong. But I can almost see like the earth crumbling below you during that time. How did you get through that? And how did you and your husband get on the same page?
So a high level overview is that we had to step through many psychological barriers. And one that I experienced with my husband, Cody, was something called the backfire effect. And so what happens is when your deeply held beliefs are challenged and you're in fear, you often will launch deeper into those beliefs and hold tighter to them because of the fear. So there was a bit of a teeter-totter. There was a back and forth initially where he'd learn some things. It would make him very sad, very uncomfortable. There was too much cognitive dissonance. So he couldn't accept what he was learning or reading. And then he'd go back into like anger and resentment and frustration. And so this teeter-totter would happen. And I'd get excited that like, oh, we're going to make it. And then like, this is so difficult. And I created what's what I call now is a new marriage proposal.
Mm.
So Esther Perel, who's a relationship expert,
Mhm.
says everyone's going to be married at least 3 times, either to the same person
Mhm.
or to different people.
Wow, that is really profound. That's really strong. So do you feel like this was a new marriage for you?
I knew in order for us to be able to move forward, I had to create a new foundation,
Mhm.
a new reality for me,
Right.
because our marriage was based on Mormonism. Our marriage was based on concepts like sameness is safety. Like when we
Mhm.
think the same and believe the same and do the same things, then we're safe.
Mm.
And that construct didn't work anymore. I
Right.
needed to cultivate a relationship where differences could be safe. Because at that time, I recognized like I can love him in the church,
Mhm.
but I also need to be loved outside of the church
Mhm.
because I cannot be dishonest with my truth and my reality.
Right.
So I presented I'll share 2 of many things. One is I presented a new marriage proposal to him. And I said, the foundation of our first marriage has crumbled because
Mhm.
I no longer believe in Mormonism.
Right.
And that changes a lot. But what I do believe in is devotion to family.
Mhm.
What I do believe in is honoring differences and creating a sacred space where people can be different. And I went out and I basically said, here's all the things that I can give you fully. I can give you honesty. I can give you devotion. I can give you a commitment to my growth. I can give you a desire to be committed to our growth together.
Mhm.
But I can't give you the belief in Mormonism.
Mhm.
And if these are terms that you can agree to, I'd also like you to consider what's important to you if I've missed anything
Right.
and add that to this agreement. And I'd like to make this the new foundation for our relationship moving forward. And he read it and he agreed to it.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
think he may have added a term or 2. I can't quite remember that part. It's been several years, but that created safety for us in this place of so much confusion
Right.
and upheaval.
Right.
And I asked him a very poignant question, which was a turning point for him. And the question was, if the church wasn't true, would you want to know?
Hmm.
If it actually isn't what we believe it is, would you even want to know? Because if the answer is no, then that helps me understand what to share, what not to share,
Right.
and how to move forward. But if the answer is yes, then it might be time for you to take ownership of that process of learning.
And his answer?
His answer was yes.
Okay.
And that's the moment that changed everything.
Mhm.
And eventually, through a lot that I won't share here,
Yeah.
we got on the same page.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like your marriage went through a threshold as well. So not only individually, but your entire family.
Absolutely. And I would say the other component is what you mentioned, the structure of the family,
Mhm.
because so much shifted in terms of our parenting,
Right.
but also in terms of our values.
Right.
And our kids were gutted. They were devastated.
Mm.
You know, our oldest daughter cried in the halls of her school for months and wasn't able to go to school. It was just so altering.
Yeah.
And our kids lost friends. And also we found ourselves in a position where we had to be vulnerable and let them know, because, children think that parents have all the answers.
Right.
And that parents have steered them in the right direction.
Right.
And we had to share with them, in a very defining initial conversation, that we didn't have all the answers.
Mhm.
That we felt a lot of sadness and a lot of confusion about what we were learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're talking, I hear this question come forward, and I don't know because, I don't know a lot about Mormonism. So you have the church and you have this structure of what was given to you, but because I'm curious where you went with this with your own family, because now this became your structure. Where is the relationship to God? Is that something that's discussed in Mormonism, or is it more about the church, the community, the things we believe? Is there like an individual relationship with God that is that something that you brought into your family or spirit, or, however you see it. Is that something that traveled with you guys as you left the structure of Mormonism?
Okay, so I'm hearing two questions. What was it like in Mormonism? And then
yeah.
did that? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Mormonism, we're taught that God is our Heavenly Father, and He has a Son, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins.
Right.
So kind of the Christian theme there. And that there's the third part of the Godhead is the Holy Ghost, and that He, all male, and that He doesn't have a body, but He's a spirit, and He's what like witnesses truth or brings comfort to people.
Right.
And yeah, there's so much ritual in Mormonism. And so there is very much a personal relationship with God is felt or experienced only through the lens of what that means based on Mormon doctrine and theology. Okay. So it's for everyone, it's very similar. Okay. It's very cookie cutter.
Right.
But yeah, there's prayers every day. Dear Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Before every meal, often in the morning, often before bed. So I would say that Mormons absolutely feel that they have a personal relationship with God. Okay. There's a lot of it's a pretty traumatic experience, right? To leave any kind of high demand religion. Everyone's path in our family was quite different. Okay. And one of the foundational values that we created with the support of mental health professionals that we were lucky to be able to work with was honoring everyone's path as being different, because we're all so unique. Right. And the trauma of us leaving was obviously very different for our 15-year-old than it was for our 6-year-old. And each of them, it was different based on their personalities, based on their relationship with the church, based on so much. And to get to your question, I very quickly and very naturally went into sort of a spiritual place, which was invigorating and exciting and enlivening and just so incredible for me. And it was very tricky because for most of my family, my husband and my girls, they were so hurt and so wounded that even me sharing anything, even talking about spirituality, was like scraping a wound that hadn't healed.
Really hard.
So, and also part of spirituality for me is like honoring where they're at without fear, without a need to project the things that are important to me or the things that were speaking to me onto them. And so I would say we really moved from this control style of parenting where what we believe is truth, we teach that to our children, they follow, into a lot more conscious parenting principles, one of them being, tell me what's alive in you. Tell me what you're curious about. How does that feel for you? Right. What's important to you? And so I've really tried to create a lot of spaciousness for my kids to differentiate themselves from me, from my beliefs, from what's important to me, and give them permission to even create boundaries. And that can be about a variety of topics, including spirituality.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you are going down a path and then you decide to go down a different path, the levels of fight and also like hitting yourselves up against a wall because everybody's so different, right? And you have a big family. I imagine, and maybe you can share this, that there must have been some sort of like darkness or what I call the dark night of the soul of, we had this anchor that always kept us together. And now we have something else that needs to be formed. And so, you create a new marriage proposal, you create a new way of conscious parenting and all of that. I wonder if there have been moments when you have sat there and thought, I don't know how to get through this.
Oh. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
What I'm thinking about is which of all of those moments might I share? Because whether it's about navigating. I mean, I would say that we've probably had 3 or 4 marriages since that new marriage proposal. I have 2 things coming to me. One is, yes, I've navigated that in parenting, the dark night of the soul, moving from, I have the answers, and this is the way I teach my children, to feeling a total loss of control.
Yeah.
How am I going to protect these children in this world, you know,
Yeah.
without family, without friends, without a community?
Right.
How am I going to do this, like, alone with my husband?
It's really scary.
It's so scary. And it takes a lot of, like, faith, right? Which is actually, like, trusting in the unknown.
Right.
Not faith. The Mormon faith is, I know the answers and I trust the answers, and I will always trust the same answers. I consider faith for me now to be like, I don't actually know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
My daughter might be in her school and there might be a shooter. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I would say a lot of my dark night of the soul, like in my marriage, in my parenting, has been one of sitting with the reality and the beauty and the ineffability of the possibilities of things that will happen that I know nothing about, you know? And I would say a poignant dark night of the soul was recognizing that we would lose our entire community.
Yeah.
And that most of our family, who are all Mormon, will forevermore look at us as if we're lost and fallen and even dangerous. That my children will be, in a way, second-class citizens in their own family. And they will feel the sting of aunts and uncles who want to keep their distance from them. And there's light and shadow in everything.
Right.
You know, and that's really painful. And it's something that we live with.
Right.
Every day. And also, there is so much beauty in recognizing that we can be just as whole and radiant and beautiful and, like, wonderful in our own right, even if someone else has a different opinion of us.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest role as a parent, right? Because it's not just you and Cody all by yourselves. This is something a journey that you took on with 4 children. And I know I have not the same story, but a similar story. Yeah. And there's deep in Hebrew, we say bitachon and emunah, like deep faith, deep trust that there is something there. And it may not be that structure that you had, but there is like you said, this like deep, what I call it is like the deep wellspring of the divine. That, at least for me, when I was going through a dark night of the soul, what I always saw was like this mother that had a hammock waiting for us. And she was like, here, honey, this is what you need. And like, come rest in here. And this is where your safe space is, because all of that structure was crumbling, right? And so somewhere, and I feel like it's like the energy or the plight of the mother in so many of the ancestral stories, maybe even from your faith, definitely from mine, of like crawling to provide for that, to provide our children with that like hammock, right? And no longer did your Mormonism provide that hammock, right? Of this is how it's done. And it's like you had to create a whole new foundation. And of course you're going to go through a dark night, probably like 20 dark nights of the soul, right? But the most amazing thing is that number one, that you gave space to your children to figure it out their way. And number two, your family came first. Mm-hmm. And you provided that safe space for your family, which is what they needed.
Thank you.
So it takes deep faith and a strong leader, right? I always feel like the mothers are the leaders of the family. A strong leading role, right? To go down the path that you did. And also for you to lose your family members and to be second-class citizens. Like, it's just so profoundly such a deep loss. And it's also like, I keep seeing this light come out of all of you. So I guess that's my next question. Like you said, like, within the darkness, there is great light. And I was just reading a quote today from Judaism that I'm going to paraphrase, that said something like, God never promises no pain, but God promises to be with us in our pain, in the humanness that we walk through in this earthly world. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be challenged and have pain and, you know, have one identity and then switch over to another, or have one marriage and switch over to this new marriage within your marriage. But then there's light within all of that. So I guess that's my question for you, is like, how did you find that? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah. Something that immediately rises to the surface for me is this idea of sort of external or an extrinsic sense of worthiness versus internal. And this can happen in religion, it can happen in culture, it can happen in family. In Mormonism, you are worthy when you achieve these external markers of worthiness. When you get baptized, when you are worthy, there's literally worthiness interviews.
Wow. Okay.
Where you answer a series of questions to determine if you're worthy to be baptized, if you're worthy to enter the temple, if you're worthy to be married in the temple, if you're worthy to hold a calling. Right? So worthiness is a big thing, but the way it is achieved or obtained in Mormonism is by demonstrating, by proving to God, to the Mormon God, and to a lot of authority figures and people around you, that you're doing life the right way according to this theology. And so this is something that happens when people transition. A major shift has to take place because they're doing something that they feel is right and true based on what they've learned. But they're coming up against the programming of their entire lives, which is, you're good when I say you're good. So they're doing something that they feel they have to do to follow honesty. And everyone around them for the first time in their lives is saying, you're bad. And so it creates this playground, this opportunity to understand and to step out, to recognize what makes a person worthy. Are you worthy? And I, you know, at the time we went through our transition, I had a very successful business. And most of the people, about 1,000 women in my organization, 90% were Mormon. So I got the opportunity to experience, because we shared publicly about our transition on podcasts. I got this opportunity to experience this a lot, where it was like, wait a minute, am I bad because my team is saying bad things about me? Am I bad because my family is saying bad things about me? Am I bad because my leaders are saying bad things about me? And I got to sit with that. And what I realized is, no, I've actually never felt more strong. I've never felt like I believe in myself more, even though everyone around me is saying you're bad, you're wrong, you're dangerous. That gave me the opportunity to recognize this critical shift. And I'm so grateful for it, because we do this in our, you know, in many different ways in society, you know, but I got this very stark opportunity to recognize, oh, I was basing my goodness, my wholeness, my worthiness on their opinions of me.
Right.
But if I were to line up 10 people, if I were to line up a Jewish person, a Christian person, an atheist, they'd all have a different opinion of me. Right now in my transition, a post-Mormon, they'd say, awesome, you're doing amazing, like, way to go. And the Mormon's saying, you're falling from grace, you're never going to go to heaven.
Right.
And so I was able to recognize, oh, their experience of me is based on their programming and their conditioning. And I no longer choose to give my worthiness over to their interpretation of me.
Beautiful.
And so that was a really profound shift that I experienced, and that I think we were able to talk to our children about. It's like, we can't protect them from losing their friends. We can't protect them from being judged. But we can embody the truth that I'm worthy because I'm here. I'm worthy because I was born. I'm worthy because I'm human.
Right.
And this is a magical experience. And we can teach that to our children, and that can protect them. Like, this truth can protect them, right? So I would say that as 1A. And 1B, I would say another major shift was in parenting. It was really moving to embodiment. So in Mormonism, it's very much like, sit your children down, have family home evening, teach them what they should do, what they shouldn't do, tell them the way. And we really shifted out of that into, how do I show up when my child's angry at me?
Yeah.
How do I demonstrate wonder and curiosity in my own life? If I want my children to not be closed-minded and be curious, it's not about telling them, well, if you're frustrated with this family value or this way we do things, like, be curious. It's not that. It's actually being curious.
Right.
So that was another major shift that, we're still learning and growing into, which is, in parenting, the most powerful tool we have is who we are and how we live our lives, not what we teach them and tell them to do.
Right. Right. It's leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one thing to say that. I would have said that as a Mormon.
Right. Right. But to embody that.
Requires differentiation. It requires the capacity and willingness to say, I'm going to embody this. It's important to me. And also, my child might not choose. Like, that might not work.
Right.
And it's not supposed to always work. Our kids aren't supposed to actually be us.
Well,
right.
I mean, if you think about it, I love what you said about, all these people are going to have a judgment or a thought about who you are. And the way that you were taught, and so many of us are, whether we're in, Mormonism or not, many of us are taught that our worthiness is based on how we act, what we do, how we accomplish on external events in this world, or what people think of us. And when you sit down and you realize that you now have to do the deep work yourself of embodying worthiness, in spite of all the people talking about you, in spite of what people think. It reminds me, when we decided to move to Israel, my husband was a rabbi. It was like, we lost almost all of our friends. We had people letting us know that we've had this a couple of times in our lives, that it was the biggest mistake we were ever going to make. And while it was difficult and hard, I don't ever regret the path that we took, but it is really the deepest challenge, especially for somebody who's sensitive and empathic, is to say that your decision is based on something that is very personal and very deep between you and your husband and your family and the divine. And that turns it into a very deep relationship with God, right? The God within. That's more divine feminine.
Yes.
And the God within is, it teaches us that we're worthy no matter what we do. I mean, yes, our actions are extremely important, how we live in this world, how we show ourselves to our family. But the divine feminine within is the like that hammock. I always think of her, right? I will hold you so you can step into your worthiness. And so for you to do that in a space of everybody kind of coming down on you is huge. And then again, you're not by yourselves, right? You have all these amazing children that are asking you questions of what are we doing and where are we going? And so really you have to step into that worthiness and show them how by really, I think it must be a daily practice of not allowing the outside fully to seep in. And it's just such it's commendable, really. It's not an easy practice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I share something that came up for me?
Of course.
When you were sharing parts of your journey, and, you know, there are some parallels and some similarities. And when you were talking, I was just thinking about this powerful shift into authenticity. In Mormonism, a lot of people do very good things and they have very high standards. What I experienced, and as I work with clients leaving Mormonism, is that the challenge is that at the root of a lot of those good things is fear. Fear that if we don't do these things, that's the whole script of Mormonism, then you won't achieve this degree of heaven. And there's several in Mormonism.
Yeah.
And so it's a works-based system where I'm earning my salvation. And there's a common experience, interestingly enough, that happens for actually and I've worked with hundreds of people leaving Mormonism, and every single person actually says, I didn't even have to work at it, but I just became less judgmental, and I just became more kind, and I just became more loving and more forgiving. And to crystallize the shift here, we can, in, you know, this framework of, I think, fear-based good works, we can do a lot of good things. Over here, when you go inward, like you were talking about, and sort of the God within, I think that the good deeds, the good acts, the doing good is more a byproduct of that inner light, rather than a byproduct of fear. And I think that that's the shift into authenticity, and that vibration magnetizes other humans to us, right?
Yes.
Because it feels, because now I live in both worlds. I step back into Mormonism a lot, and there is a different feeling of I'm doing the right thing. I'm trying to be nice because I should, because that's what Jesus would do. And if I don't, then I won't get where I need to go. Versus I just want to be kind and loving to you because I'm kind and loving to me. Because that's what we are actually in our essence, is
beautiful.
Good. So that kind of came up for me when you were talking. I want to share that.
Yeah, I love that because it's so much about expanding your vessel, right? So if you step into that light within, right, your vessel, the experience of your life gets brighter and bigger. And then it's amazing. I mean, this is also a Kabbalistic idea that the more light you allow in, the container needs to expand. And then how do we expand it? So instead of fearful actions, we start to feel this expansion, and we naturally expand the container by doing good, by being kind, by doing acts of service, by being in service to the divine. All those things come from that place. So it's really beautiful that you're saying that soul, like we all came here, as you know, to expand in our soul consciousness and to use that light for good. But yes, when it comes from a fear-based place, then you're doing it for a reason instead of just doing it. So on that note, I would ask you, I love the idea of living soul first, right? Of really waking up. I wake up every morning and I ask Spirit or God, how can I serve you in my deepest way with my soul shining first and foremost? Because when our souls lead, our bodies and our actions naturally follow. So how do you live soul first? Like, let's take it to present day. You've gone through
Yeah.
all these thresholds, different marriages in one marriage, right? Like family of, 6 of you. How do you, navigating all of that darkness, dark night of the soul. And now you find yourself here talking to me. So what does that look like on a daily basis to lead from your soul?
I love that question. If I had to distill it down into one word, I think the word would be presence. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky with these questions because there's so many directions, right? But what's the most valuable direction to focus on? And I think that for me, I've learned to find pleasure, true pleasure in being more present than I ever was before. And another word to me that comes with that is wonder. It's like if I can be in full presence with a child and wonder about them, the most beautiful conversations and connections can happen. I was, we got a hot tub recently, and I was in the hot tub with my 16-year-old daughter. And just really enjoying being with her and not hurrying, not thinking about the next thing. And our conversation evolved into her asking me, Mom, I'm wondering what the most difficult phase of your mothering experience has been with each of us.
Wow, what a question.
And I was able to share, and even shared about my most difficult times with her. And she listened from this place of like compassion and curiosity and asked questions. And like, that's just one recent, that was just a couple days ago. That's one recent example of like the gift of presence.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I love that. And also for a child to see her parent, like her mom, right? There's such you must have shown her a lot of presence and consciousness and connection for her to then turn to you and say, you're more than a mom. You're also, you're a mom and a woman and a human having this experience. Like, what was it like for you with each of us? And that's just it's amazing for her to be comfortable enough to say that to you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah. I love those moments.
I know.
And even last night, I was in a difficult disagreement with my husband. It was like a different experience of a similar situation. And I was just noticing how I could find pleasure in that conversation. Like, how can I be more open here? Or how can I be more in my heart here? Or, oh my goodness, I'm noticing this desire that I'm having to bring up these things from the past, and like, will that serve me? And like, even being really present with my inner experience can be so fascinating.
Especially to do it during, I mean, it's easier to have that level of consciousness when we are by ourselves or in joy, right? But then to be, I like to think of it as like deep intention. I mean, that's what presence is, right? And to be with somebody and to feel yourself maybe getting riled up, maybe getting fearful or angry, or, oh, this is a pattern. And then to have that soul awareness come down during a time that is challenging, it's a deep practice. And I think that too is like a soul lesson for sure. It's beautiful, hard, but also really beautiful. And I love what you said about pleasure. I think as we get older, we also get younger because we have the opportunity to remember and look back at what were those pleasurable times of our lives. Kids are such good teachers because when they're younger, they show us awe and beauty just in, finding a flower. Like we have a puppy and he's just like, I like this flower and I like this smell and I like
love your
this.
puppy so much.
a little exhausted. I actually had a dream last night that I was pregnant again.
Oh
And I
gosh.
was like, okay, wait.
I know where that's
I'm all
coming from.
done. I woke up and I was like, okay, the puppy's sleeping next to you.
Yeah.
That is why. No more babies. I'm grateful for what I have. But it is this like child. I think when we live soul first, it's like this childlike pleasure. And then as we get older, it's this deep gratitude for being here. Even though the earthly existence can be so painful, there is also so much beauty, even in an argument with your husband. How can this expand us? How can this allow us to grow instead of us falling back on those like, oh, but you said this and you said this, or this is old. That is deep awe. And I love that you said all of that. I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
to conclude, why don't you tell us what you're doing now in your work? I know it's shifted and changed. So I'd love to hear what you're doing for work and something that feeds your soul.
Yeah. So I've been working a lot with people who are making big transitions in their lives through standard coaching. After we went through this process of sharing quite publicly about leaving Mormonism. And as a byproduct of that, I had people from all over the world reaching out to me in a place of a lot of pain and a lot of confusion and not knowing what to do next. And I went and became a certified life coach just with the intention of like, I want to be able to respond to these people with as much tool, like, well-informed tools that I can, not even initially envisioning moving into becoming a life coach. But anyway, that's what happened. And so I've been doing that for the last 7 years or so, mostly online over Zoom. But through our transition and healing progression out of Mormonism, my husband and I were able to experience the profound growth and healing that came through working with a trained and skilled medicine work facilitator. And utilizing some of the substances that our amazing Mother Earth has provided for us. And through that process, I couldn't help when I was, working with these clients online, but think about, wow, like this experience could really deepen your healing and quicken it. Quicken it. Right. And so I became more curious about this realm, and I started working with my facilitator in sort of a mentorship way. And I started feeding lots of my clients to him and being in the medicine space with him and working with him. And that so that's kind of been a path I've been exploring. And then I'm currently in a program to become a sort of, I don't know if you say licensed or certified facilitator in this space. And so, I'm moving into this work in a new way to it just feels, in a way, it feels like the closest to heaven that I've ever been.
Amazing.
And the medicine that's been most powerful for us is heart-opening medicine that really has helped us to be able to have conversations, my husband and I, that we were never able to touch with a 10-foot pole and do it in a way where I could actually understand him from his perspective. Like I was inside his awareness and he in mine. And it was so transformative and so healing. And witnessing couples come together and connect in ways that they never thought was possible. Witnessing and experiencing a path to a place of love that's so deep and so vast that I didn't even know existed.
It's beautiful.
And that's provided a map of how to get back there again and again and again without the medicine work. And so it's really brought a new level of love and of compassion for myself and for others. And I've witnessed that happen again and again and again. And the research is really profound on some of these substances. So this is a new part of my path, is
That's
providing
beautiful.
a safe place for people to experience those things as well.
It's so amazing when we go through personal things that we don't understand at the moment. And, it's that threshold, that dark night of the soul. And we're like, how am I going to get through this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we take that story and it becomes a part of us, and then we teach it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels like you've kind of come full circle.
Yeah.
Where you're healed enough, always on the path of, we're always whole, but always on the path.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've come full circle to be able to be more wisdom filled in order to teach this. So it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And something I want to tie back to this idea of full circle is, I was a birth doula, a birth and a postpartum doula at a very young age. I just felt so called to support this process of bringing new life into the world. And it feels quite similar, actually, because I get to now support and witness people rebirthing themselves, or birthing new versions of themselves, or a new awareness. And so it feels like the birth process in a different way.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it sounds like the whole thing you went through was like a birth, a death, a rebirth. So thank you. Thank you, Leah.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast and also having a real raw conversation with me. And I think that people can learn from that, because often when we're questioning and we don't know where to go and we're lost, we do need the map. And for some people, it is religion. And for some people, it's not. And for some, it's that personal relationship with the divine. And for most of us, when we find the calling of our soul, that is where we land, right? And our soul informs us with the divine of where to go. This is the map. And my work is informs me that the map is already provided. It's like the blueprint of our soul. It like comes from the depths. And so I think that's the purpose of why we're here, is like to remember our own blueprint, right? That ancient map that we've lived over and over and over again. And this lifetime is just another way of us putting those pieces of the puzzle together to say, oh yeah, I remember who I am. So I just want to thank you for allowing us to hear your threshold moments and your light. And you have a beautiful, bright light. So thank you for sharing it, my friend.
Thank you. As do you. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Appreciate it.
So I just want to close with a prayer, actually, that you discover, and everyone listening discover more and more of their light, and listen to the depths of their own soul, that blueprint, and allow it to shine brightly so that we can heal each other and ourselves and the world.
Yeah.
Aho.
Aho.
Thank you.
Thank you.